Hello Lathrop AP Computer Science, and welcome to week 4 of remote learning. I hope that by now you've settled into a real pattern and a strategy for yourself for continuing your learning from home. Maybe that's included spending a few minutes each day thinking about your different classes, communicating with your teachers on a regular basis, and hopefully getting in some extra sleep and keeping things low stress. What I wanted to do this week was take a few minutes to talk about just sort of what you can expect from our class moving forward, like always, but then, most importantly, to talk about the 2 questions you can expect to see on this year's AP Free Response test. Well, here we are, week 4 of remote learning. We're pretty much about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than halfway through, and things have been moving along okay. Thank you to those of you that are communicating regularly with me. Lots of you have been doing those practice free response questions and sharing your answers with me through Google Docs. I can give you some good feedback that way. A few of you have chosen to continue working on projects, and the few of you that have shared those things are looking really cool, and at the end of the year we'll try and find a way to share it with everybody so you can see what people have been working on. For everybody, if you do want to keep working on projects, please do. I'm happy to help you out with BlueJ or Grid World if you want to make a program, help you with Coding Bat or CodeHS if you want to just get some review that way. Regardless, everyone should be thinking about the AP exam. The biggest mistake you could make, and really the only mistake you could make for yourself for getting ready for the AP exam this year, is to not think about computer science for like the next month until you sit down for our AP test in May. Please, please, please be at least doing those couple free response questions. It'll just be 2, but do those 2 free response questions each week to keep your brain thinking about computer science. That's really all it's going to take to make sure you have a great score on the AP exam. But if you sit around and do no programming, or you don't think about the AP exam at all for the next few weeks, then you might find yourself unfortunately surprised when those 2 free response show up on the screen. So what I'd like to do is talk about what the 2 questions are and what you can expect. The first question will be either about one-dimensional arrays or array lists. It'll be worth 65% of your exam score, and you'll get 25 minutes to do it and then 5 minutes to upload your answer. Whether that'll be online somehow, maybe you're taking a picture of what you've written by hand, or you're just submitting what you typed into the computer system. Now this program, the question shouldn't be too bad. They're going to ask you to write a method or 2 that satisfy some conditions, maybe use some input to generate some kind of output following the method signature. The other half, or part of it, will definitely ask you to traverse the array or the array list. We know that traversing an array or an array list requires for loops. So you'll have to know how to set up a for loop properly with the proper beginning, middle, and end. And then use that to look through an array or an array list, maybe to find something or to change something or to add something up. It might be something similar to programs we've done where maybe you had an array of 100 integers and you had to go through and count how many were even. Well, to do that, we needed a for loop to look at every spot, and then we needed an if statement to check every spot to see if it was even or odd. And then we needed a counter to add those things up and return it. It's that kind of logic you could expect to see on the first question of the AP exam. One of the tricky things with the AP exam for computer science usually is taking the time to understand the question being asked. Very often when it's a paper-based test and we have more time, the questions are pretty convoluted. They give a complex scenario and then ask you to write the program to solve it. For example, we've had things where like a business makes cookies and they need an order or a program to keep track of their cookie orders. And so you have to make the thing that can keep track of what kinds of cookies and how many cookies are being ordered and in which order and whether or not they've been delivered. What you'll want to do as we get some practice here is think or give yourself some time to just read the question and think through it, and then give yourself time to write. One of the biggest mistakes you can make, I think, in the computer science test is to sit down and start writing right away. If you have 25 minutes to do the problem, you literally might spend the first 10 or 15 just reading the problem to understand what it's about, and then just spend the last 10 or 15 actually writing your solution. The second question on the AP exam will be about methods and objects, and it'll be worth 25% of the test, and you'll get 15 minutes to do that question. What this is probably going to have you do is write a class for something. You need that class signature at the top, maybe a constructor, probably a method or 2, not getters or setters, because those are kind of trivial, but something more meaningful, like in that cookie order example, maybe a method that could tell you how many total cookies had been ordered. Something with some calculation or some decision making involved. They're going to be checking to make sure you know how to use if and else if and if-else statements. They'll want to know that you understand the logic of creating an object and then using that object's methods to do stuff. Things like Giroux.hop, right? The best thing you can do for yourself is do our 2 practice problems from last week if you haven't, and do the 2 practice problems from this week. If you're willing to share those practice problems with me, then I can give you some feedback there. That'd be really good. The worst thing you could do for yourself in the AP exam would be to not think about computer science for the next few weeks, and then all of a sudden show up to an AP test and try and remember what's going on. So, do yourself the favor and do a couple practice. If you have questions, you want to talk about those things, let me know. I'm happy to meet with you by email or by Zoom meeting, or I can just call you on the phone and we can chat about some of the questions. I'm happy to set aside some time where maybe we can even just work through some together. And with the AP exam coming up in May, you'll want to make sure you're getting a little bit of practice so you can feel comfortable when you sit down for that test. If you've done just a little bit of practice, like literally just 2 questions a week, then it should be an easy 4 or 5, no question about it. If you don't do any practice and it's been like 10 weeks since 3rd quarter ended and you're sitting down for an AP exam having not programmed anything in 2.5 months, then holding on to a 3 is going to be a little bit of a challenge, just so you know. They're trying to be as helpful as possible. The test is open notes, right? My guess is that 25 and 15-minute timelines will be plenty for the 2 questions, and I'm sure the grading criteria will be pretty generous too. But if you haven't done anything for 2.5 months when you sit down for that test, it is going to be a bit of a challenge. In addition, if you're looking for something to do just because you're bored, feel free to jump on the link in the Google form that's linked below this video to complete this week's video scavenger hunt to see if you can identify some of the different things in the video here. Last week, only 1 person was able to get all the questions right. Good job, Wesley. He was able to identify the video game I was playing on my Switch properly as Zelda, or The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. Most everyone else thought it was either Animal Crossing or Pokemon. He was able to do that with a little Google image search, which is a pretty impressive tool to be using. If you're bored, you can jump on the link down below and you can do this week's video scavenger hunt. Alright, well, I'll stop talking. If you have questions on things, let me know. If you haven't reached out recently to let me know how you want to be graded, please do so. And when you have some practice questions that you've done, even just 1 or 2, send them to me through email or Google Docs or something like that, or just give me a call and we can talk through some feedback and let you know what to expect. Awesome. Thank you for your time. Keep it up and good luck here in week 4 of remote learning.